Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching W News, broadcasting live from the Arabiya studios. These are our top stories. Top tech and business leaders are gathering at the US-Saudi Forum on AI and investment as the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman signs major defense deals with President Trump. The Epstein files bill is heading to Trump's desk after unanimous congressional approval. A deadly Israeli airstrike hits a Palestinian refugee camp in southern Lebanon, killing at least 13 people. And the CEO of Saudi airline Flyadeal explains why routes from Riyadh to India are essential to the carrier's expansion. The US-Saudi Investment Forum opens in Washington today, bringing together top global figures, including Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Nvidia's founder, for a major discussion on AI and technology. The event follows Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's meeting with President Donald Trump at the White House, where the two leaders have signed several landmark agreements, including a new defense deal, civil nuclear cooperation, and AI and critical minerals partnerships. Both Trump and MBS will be at the forum, where Trump is expected to speak. For more on this, I'm joined by Dr. Mahmoud Abdul Kareem, economic and financial researcher in the Arab world. It's a pleasure to have you on the show with me. I just wanted to bring you some news that we're just getting at the moment across the wires. Apparently, Elon Musk and his AI company, that's XAI, and Saudi are doing a 500 megawatt project with Nvidia. So we're already getting news about deals that are coming through. What more can we expect from the forum today?
Actually, Saudi Arabia connection with Elon Musk and Tim Cook and Jensen is strategically important because these individuals represent the center of gravity in global AI, semiconductor, and future technology. Their presence at the dinner signaled three major advantages for the Riyadh. Okay, first, it's accelerated Saudi Arabia's ambition to become a global AI hub, and the kingdom, plans to invest more than 40 billion in AI by 2030, making the world's largest state-led AI investor. And Jensen Huang's Nvidia control over 80% of the global AI chip markets, and the Saudi demand for the advanced shipment is rising as it builds national data centers and cloud infrastructure. Just one hyperscale AI facility can require tens of thousands of GPUs, with the signal cluster costing upward of $500 million to $1 billion. Securing access to such technology is essential for Saudi Arabia and digital transformation. From the other side, also Apple and Tesla brings high-level partnership and innovation, clean energy, mobility, and manufacturing. Saudi Arabia is building $500 billion smart city NEOM, and it was a global tech giant to anchor research labs and semiconductor fabrication and EV production inside the country. The combined market value of Apple and Tesla and Nvidia exceed $4 trillion, which almost 4 times of the Saudi Arabia GDP of about $1.1 trillion. These relationships connect the kingdom to the most valuable innovation ecosystem of the planet. So at the end, this connection brings the Saudi Arabia economic diversification under the Vision 2030, and then an oil sector already contribute about 50% of GDP, and technology is becoming a key driver for the growth. The digital economy alone is a project to contribute over 80% of GDP by 2030. That means nearly about $200 billion. So partnership with the world's most influential tech lead, accelerated the talent development, research, and advance and manufacturing inside Saudi Arabia, helping the country move from being an energy exporter to become a global technology producers, investor and producer.
So what you're saying to me is that this US-Saudi investment forum that is happening right now over in America is absolutely crucial to Saudi's Vision 2030 and its economic diversification goals. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. Because Saudi Arabia participation in the U.S.-Saudi investment from directly support the main goals of the Vision 2030, which aim to transform Saudi Arabia, as I mentioned, to economy from oil dependent to diversified, technology driven. President Trump announced that the U.S. working to approve advanced AI chips for Saudi Arabia is a major step toward this transformation. The global AI chip market today is worth more than $150 billion, growing at range 20 to 25% a year. And Saudi Arabia plans to invest 40 to 50 billion in artificial intelligence and data centers by 2030. So if the kingdom capture even 1% of the global chip value chain, it could generate around $1.5 billion a year in a new non-oil revenue, posting a long-term economic diversification. So the forum itself also support the Vision 2030 through a foreign investment. Saudi Arabia announced it's ready to expand its investment in the U.S. economy to $1 trillion, and this aligns with the public investment fund, the growth target to reaching $2 trillion by 2030. Partnering with the world's largest economy, so the U.S. with the GDP of $28 trillion provides strong return and allows Saudi Arabia to bring advanced technology back home. So to understand the scale, a $1 trillion Saudi investment equal nearly 27% of the U.S. government annual federal budget, showing seriousness of the Saudi Arabia global integration.
I just want to ask you, before I let you go quickly, what barriers might Saudi investors face when expanding into the US market, especially given regulatory compliance and political sensitivities? Because right now, both of us are talking about huge amounts of money, investment.
Actually, Saudi investor is looking to expand into the U.S. market will face several real challenges, mainly linked to regulation, as you mentioned, compliance, and political climate. So first, the U.S. has a very strict financial and corporate regulation. Any Saudi company entering the market must comply with the law as a foreign, as a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, which is called an FCPA, and a strict reporting standard from the SEC, and a detailed tax rule. And these requirements increase costs and slow down market entry. And the top of that, foreign investment coming from the Middle East often undergo a deeper review by the Committee of the Foreign Investment in the United States, and especially in sensitive sectors like technology, energy, infrastructure. And so, this is the Committee of Foreign Investment. The United States can block or delay if it believes there are some kind of national security concern. So there are political environment. There is also political environment in U.S.-Saudi relation, and which are stable but sensitive, and it changes in the Washington foreign policy mood can affect how Saudi investment are viewed. Certain sectors, especially defense, AI, semiconductor, and data-related industry, face extra political pressure and public scrutiny. In addition, Saudi company must deal with differences in business culture, strong labor rules, complex state-level regulation, high legal risk, And as the US is one of the most litigious market in the world, this barrier do not stop the investment, but that might make it more expensive and slower and require Saudi firm to build a strong compliance system and hire specialized legal team and plan carefully before entering the American market.
Dr. Mahmoud Abdul Kareem, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is in Washington this week for a high-profile visit with President Donald Trump. So far, the two leaders have signed a major strategic defense agreement, officially designating Saudi Arabia a major non-NATO ally. For more on this, I'm joined from Riyadh by Dr. Hesham Al-Ghannam, scholar at the Malcolm H. Kerr Carnegie Middle East Center. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Doctor. Doctor, first of all, Trump said Saudi is now a major non-NATO ally. What does this mean, and what benefits will Riyadh get from this status?
Thank you for having me. Without any exaggerations, I would say that becoming a major non-NATO ally is significant for the kingdom simply because it places Saudi Arabia in a very select group of countries with privileged access to US defense systems. It does not create a formal defense obligation, but it certainly opens the door to faster military purchases, deeper intelligence coordination, more joint training, and access to advanced technologies that are usually reserved for only those that are very close to the US. And more importantly, in my opinion, this status is a signal of recognition. It acknowledges Saudi Arabia as a responsible and a stabilizer actor in the region. When combined with the strategic defense agreement, it provides a clear and a predictable framework for long-term cooperation, helping to avoid past misunderstandings and also future political swings, especially in the US political system. At the same time, it allows both sides to strengthen ties without, and this is very important, without over-promising or over-commitment or creating expectations that simply are unrealistic and certainly would be difficult to sustain. Something both capitals, both Riyadh and Washington, are very aware of. I think what happened was very logical and a balanced step that reflects shared interests, respects each country's realities, I mean specifically the domestic US factor, and shows that the relationship is moving forward in a stable and I would say a very mature way.
And Doctor, Saudi Arabia is ready to increase its investment in the US economy to $1 trillion. Now, part of that is nearly $140 billion for F-35 fighter jets. Can investments in defense contribute to regional stability in the Middle East?
I think, in my opinion, one important thing to highlight and emphasize is that for the kingdom, these deals are not simply about buying weapons, which is very important. But I think it's more than that. This is part of a broader Saudi effort to build a modern, capable defense structure that can protect the kingdom and also contribute to regional stability. Additionally, access to advanced systems such as the F-35 I would say shows a high level of trust with the United States and reinforces our commitment to work closely with a long-standing strategic partner. So there is this also important symbolic importance. At the same time, we know that these systems come with a burden, a very huge burden, with responsibilities. I mean, it comes with required training, maintenance, and also a sustained cooperation with the US. The kingdom views these purchases as an investment in deterrence and stability, not an investment in escalation, which is a qualitative difference. And if you allow me to add, I would say that also by relying on trusted partners for advanced technology, the US is in this case, we in Saudi reduce the need to seek alternatives from other global powers, which I think helps clarify our strategic alignment and signals that our goals are security and stability rather than anything else.
And President Trump said he had a good talks with Mohammed bin Salman about Saudi normalizing relations with Israel. But the Crown Prince was absolutely clear on a secure path to the two-state solution. Will Donald Trump put more pressure on Israel?
Let me say that although this is a sensitive matter, but Saudi Arabia was always open to normalization with Israel, but only if there is a real and tangible progress for the Palestinians. Our position was and is very clear until now. A credible path to a two-state solution is a prerequisite, a necessary precondition before any formal steps are taken. At the same time, we are very realistic about regional dynamics and continue working on shared security concerns with the US, which is our main global strategic partner. I would add also that the kingdom prefer a gradual and a careful approach rather than sudden moves that could undermine trust or regional stability. For Saudi Arabia, normalization in itself is not a goal in its own. It's not a price or a concession. It's a strategic choice that must serve long-term peace and stability. Otherwise, it will be with no value or substance for anyone.
And I just want to talk to you a little bit about yesterday's big dinner. There was a glamorous dinner at the White House, of course. Cristiano Ronaldo was there. He attended Trump's dinner with the Saudi Crown Prince. The president did pay tribute to the footballer, and he also posed with Elon Musk for a photograph, Cristiano Ronaldo. How important is Cristiano Ronaldo in the White House with MBS? How significant is this moment?
This is part of the Saudi soft power, and this is important, and I think it's significant, and it works, and it's very well orchestrated and very well organized, and I think it's very productive, and I think it helps also the kingdom in its global message, and it's also economic message and political message to the world. This is part of the vision, a pillar of the vision. It's not only about football, it's much more than that.
Dr. Hesham Al-Ghannam, thank you so much for joining me. Congress has moved to release Justice Department files on Jeffrey Epstein, approving a bill unanimously in the Senate and overwhelmingly in the House. The measure comes after President Trump reversed his stance, urging transparency following public pressure. The records, which will include documents, communications and flight logs connected to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, are now heading to Trump's desk for his expected signature. Survivors and advocates hailed the move as a step towards accountability. For more on this, I'm joined from Istanbul by former US Ambassador Matthew Bryza. Matthew, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me. Okay, a bill to release the Epstein files. It's getting ever closer. The House of Representatives was near unanimous in voting for the material to be released. Why has there been so much bipartisan support in favor of these documents being revealed?
And by the way, the Senate was unanimous in its vote also, which came much quicker than people expected. The reason why there's such bipartisan support is twofold. One reason is political, one reason is moral. The political reason is that President Trump campaigned, in part, promising to release the Epstein files after he had pressed the Biden administration to do so. So the Democrats are saying, okay, now you're in office. You promised to release these files. Why aren't you? What are you trying to hide? Whereas at the same time, Trump's MAGA base in the Republican Party feels very strongly, for the second reason, the emotional and ethical and moral reason that these files need to be released. And what I mean by the ethical moral issue is that these were clearly young women, girls in some cases, as young as 15 years old, who were sexually abused, raped in some cases. At least one committed suicide. So this, the abuse, sexual abuse of women and girls by rich and powerful men, you can understand, is a very powerful emotional issue in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, it's a two-pronged one, political and moral, Matthew. But things are moving pretty quickly as the bill now awaits Trump's signature. But could the US president potentially scupper it?
If you were having this conversation with me yesterday, I would say yes. And there's a good chance he will persuade the Senate to derail the effort, and he may be able to veto, or he may choose to veto the bill when it passes, if it passes the Senate, because to override a presidential veto, you need 2/3 of the House, the Senate to vote in favor of overturning the president's veto. But clearly, this bill now has way more than 2/3 support. So the Congress would override President Trump's veto were he to try to veto the bill. And so if things stand tomorrow or whenever the bill comes to the president, as they are right now, no, there's nothing the president can do to stop this.
So President Trump's long-term ally, Marjorie Taylor Greene, held a news conference with Epstein survivors. She has come out in support of the victims. We've seen that very strong in the US. Do you think that cracks in the MAGA movement are now becoming much deeper over the release of these Epstein files?
I do, and I fully agree with you that the turnaround by Marjorie Taylor Greene, whom President Trump now calls Marjorie Traitor Greene or even Brown, is a powerful sign of a big crack. There are others, though. There's strong differences within the MAGA coalition about President Trump's activity or his high degree of activeness on foreign affairs, rather than just focusing on what he promised to do from day one in office, which is lower domestic prices, especially for food. And there's also growing differences within the MAGA coalition about immigration. There are many members of the MAGA coalition that want there to be zero immigration. There are some who would like to see control of the southern border of the United States, and stronger controls on who actually enters the country. President Trump is one of those. And so, in fact, President Trump is among people even more, let's say, positive about immigration within the MAGA coalition, in that he said a couple of days ago that the U.S. needs more so-called H-1B visas. These are visas for people of particularly high levels of talent to come into the United States to perform functions and jobs that can't be fulfilled by Americans. Marjorie Taylor Greene strongly disagrees with that approach. So yeah, there are deepening and widening cracks in the MAGA movement.
And also, Donald Trump, let's talk about his polling, because polling right now shows Trump's popularity is at the lowest since he's returned to the White House. Many Americans are unhappy with his handling of the Epstein investigation. Why do you think we're now seeing his popularity fall so dramatically in many ways?
Yeah, and it's ironic it's falling just as he's having a lot of success in foreign policy. Yeah, the numbers have really collapsed. I mean, he used to have in the mid-40s, 40% support, and that's okay for a U.S. president. It's kind of normal. Once people get elected, their popularity goes down in any political system. But if a president's approval ratings are only like in the mid-30s, 34%, 35%, like now, that is a problem. That makes it more difficult to govern, and then you start to see revolts against the president by his own party, as we're seeing with the Epstein file release, as we've been talking about. So I think, the reason why his popularity is decreasing is what I said, splits in the coalition about migration or immigration. splits about how active he is on foreign policy rather than focusing on problems at home. And I think really the main issue is what the Democrats are calling affordability. Inflation remains high, relatively higher than President Trump promised. It's at about 3% now, much better than it was in 2023 when it was around 9%. But still, the prices, especially for food in the U.S., are much higher than President Trump promised they would be. So as a result, in recent days, he said he's going to reduce tariff on certain food items to try to bring food prices down, because he feels that one reason why the Republicans did so poorly in regional and local elections a week and a half ago or so is because prices are too high, and also because the government was shut down. The government shutdown was very unpopular, and I think most voters blame the Republicans rather than the Democrats.
Matthew, Bryza, it's always fascinating to get your insights and analysis. As always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
At least 13 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike near a Palestinian refugee camp in southern Lebanon. Lebanon's health ministry has said that. The Israeli military said it targeted Hamas operatives at a training site, while Hamas denied that claim. For more on this, I'm joined by Lieutenant Colonel Sarit Zehavi, President of the Alma Research and Education Center. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. 13 people have been killed. Great to see you. 13 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a Palestinian refugee camp in southern Lebanon. Why is Israel's military stepping up deadly attacks in this region?
First, let's the facts right. It's not 13 people, it's 13 terrorists of Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that were training for a terrorist activity against us Israelis. Now, to answer your question, Israel has to defend itself. After what happened in October 7th, we can no longer ignore preparations, training, military deployment of terrorists in South Lebanon, and we are acting against it. We are not waiting for Israelis to be killed. I myself live 9 kilometers from the Israeli-Lebanese border. I lived for 14 months under the fire of Hezbollah and also of Hamas during the last war. I had 15 seconds to get to the bomb shelter. I was afraid from a Hezbollah invasion, just like Hamas had done, because they were fully prepared. And I used to see Hezbollah terrorists just across the borderline every day. This reality is not going to happen anymore. And Israel will fight terrorism that endanger its people anywhere that needed. It's not just Palestinians or just people.
Hezbollah says the attack, which killed 13 people, is a flagrant violation of Lebanese sovereignty and the year-long ceasefire. Is Hezbollah correct in its assessment of Israel's actions? Is Israel ignoring the ceasefire, and is it also ignoring the sovereignty of Lebanon?
This is not the question. The question is whether Hezbollah is ignoring the sovereignty of Lebanon while it is refusing to disarm, including in South Lebanon, in an area that, due to the ceasefire agreement, it was supposed to disarm, not after the current war, but actually 19 years ago in 2006, 2006, where we had a United Nations Security Council resolution that said that Hezbollah will not be present at all in South Lebanon. Today, Hezbollah refused and ignores these agreements, saying loudly and clearly that it will not disarm, every day trying to rebuild its military and terrorist infrastructures in South Lebanon and in Lebanon in general. And that's why Israel is attacking it.
So Israel continues to attack Lebanon on a near daily basis. 2 towns in southern Lebanon right now are currently waiting for an Israeli strike. Is the safety...
No. Israel is not attacking Lebanon, neither villages of Lebanon. Israel is attacking Hezbollah or Hamas.
Yes, but where Hezbollah and Hamas are is in Lebanon. I'm asking the question.
I'm answering.
No, I'm asking the question. I'm asking you that Israel continues to attack Lebanon on a near daily basis. 2 towns in southern Lebanon, as we speak right now, are currently waiting for Israel to strike. Is the safety of civilians actually being taken into consideration by Israel? And you are attacking Lebanon.
We are not attacking Lebanon. We are attacking a terrorist entity in Lebanon. We are not targeting civilians. By the way, in the IDF preparations and maps, since I was in the IDF, I know how this is working. IDF never targets civilians. We have no interest in targeting civilians. We want to target those who put us at risk. Those who are targeting civilians are the terrorist organizations, whether it's in Lebanon or elsewhere, that are using their own people as human shields. This is what Hamas is doing when it operates from within what you say, refugee camp inside Lebanon. This is what Hezbollah is doing when it is operating from within Lebanese villages in South Lebanon. Again,
but can I just, sorry, can I ask, sorry, I just,
let me finish, please. We were attacked by Hezbollah in October 8 after 17 years that we didn't attack in Lebanon. And Hezbollah became a huge monster that was on our border, risking me and my family. And I was personally attacked by Hezbollah for many months. So now we are not going to enable that anymore.
I just want to ask you a question, because I know lots of people at home will be watching you and me speaking to each other. And I do often interview people from Israel, people who were involved with the IDF like yourself before. And every time I ask them about the death toll in Gaza, we're looking at 69,000 people killed in Gaza. They always say they do not strike civilians, but we've seen the footage and we've seen the pictures at home, and it is concerning for people watching to find it difficult to believe that Israel is protecting civilians.
You want my answer?
I do.
I will answer you. I don't know how many people, how many civilians were killed in Gaza. Neither do you, because you are counting on a terrorist organization numbers that were proven to be lies. Many times during this war, Hamas published that 400 people were killed, 500 people were killed here and there, and then we learned that it's not 400, it's much less than that, or we learned that they were killed by a Hamas rocket that landed in Gaza, or they were killed by Hamas themselves. So I cannot relate to the number that you just said. These are Hamas numbers, and nobody actually knows, neither you nor me, how many civilians were killed in Gaza. What I can say is that there are strict orders to the IDF soldiers and officers not to target civilians. When Hamas is using the civilians as human shields and Hezbollah is hiding weapons inside the children's bedroom, sometimes they are getting killed, unfortunately. The only way to solve this very tragic situation is to join all of us, those who are against terrorist groups, to end the existence of terrorist groups on the borders and to end the suffering of Lebanese, Gazians, and Israeli families alike.
Thank you so much for joining me. It was great to have you on the show and your thoughts and analysis. I do appreciate it. Saudi Arabia's low-cost airline Flyadeal have announced the launch of several new routes for 2026, including Indian destinations Delhi and Mumbai. Saudi is home to one of the largest Indian expat populations, with over 3 million residents in the kingdom. Earlier this week, I spoke to Flyadeal's CEO Steven Greenway, who told me why a connection to Indian cities is so critical for the next phase of growth. Take a listen. You have quite a lot of new aircraft on order, so 51 new narrow-body aircraft, 10 wide-body aircraft on order, all for deliveries by around 2027. So is 2027 going to be the year of wow growth for Flyadeal and allow for those more long-haul flights like you spoke to me about, India, Pakistan, possibly Europe? So is that where you're looking for the wow growth to happen?
I'm going to describe 2027 as the wow growth growth year. Thank you. You've given me the tag. Wow growth and sort of scratching my head growth as well. I literally had a meeting with Airbus yesterday, and I was just informed that not only will we get one new aircraft type in July of 2027, but we'll get two. So we're getting our 321s, our first one being delivered in July, and our 330 being delivered in July at the same time. We will literally, from 2027 beyond, we have literally an aircraft every month or more coming into the fleet to get us up to where we need to be for 100 aircraft. So I think that's where we really do amp up. I think your observation is absolutely correct. We're preparing now. We're doing all the basics now to prepare for that. Flight training schools, engineering, technology investments, you name it, to get prepared for that big day where we know we're ramping up quite substantially. But in the interim, we are already starting Pakistan. We have 5 destinations. We're getting on with it. We're getting on with the assets that we have. We don't want to stop growing. We want to continue growing our network. Syria is a good example. India, we still intend to launch next year despite not getting the 321s. We've just got to get on with it. It's not optimal. I think that's probably the thing to say, but we have to get on with the growth, and that's what we're doing. Both India and Saudi Arabia, they're in the top 5 trading partners between both countries. So they have very, very strong economic ties. That even surprised me when I was researching. Second thing is we have 3 million Indians in the kingdom, everyone from doctors to street cleaners and everything else in between. So they're wanting to go home, visit friends and family. They're living in the kingdom, they're working in the kingdom, but they obviously want to go home. You have a huge middle class building in India and wealth as well, and they're wanting to travel. And what we say is airlines in both India and the kingdom have been unrepresented in terms of market share. That is that third-party airlines via third-party countries are taking traffic, over Dubai as an example, from India to the kingdom and vice versa. What we're saying is we want our fair share of direct traffic. It's only 5-hour flying time between the kingdom and India, or 4 on the east coast. We believe there's enough there. We're offering direct services. And the other thing on top of that is we're also offering a network of 25 destinations within the kingdom. And so that is obviously something very compelling for someone who was wanting to come into the kingdom and move around. So we think there's a lot more growth between our countries respectively, and there's a demand for direct services as opposed to going via a third country.
India actually adopts a really protectionist stance when it comes to foreign carriers operating Indian routes. How does Flyadeal plan to tackle this government oversight that's currently in India at the moment?
So 2 things. You're correct, but they're more protective in terms of what we call 6 freedom traffic. That is going over third-party countries via third-party airlines to get to an ultimate destination. A good example would be, say, India via Dubai to the United States, as an example. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about direct services between 2 countries. The other thing is also the actual oversight and regulation that is pertaining to both of our countries is reasonably good. We can start services without having to ask for extra rights or anything like that. We just have to get the license to be able to do that. So the actual traffic rights between both of our countries is quite good.
Let's take a look at some of the other stories making the headlines today. At least 25 people are dead and dozens more injured after a Russian drone and missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Ternopil. 15 children were among the wounded, as Ukrainian officials say 2 blocks of flats were hit. It's been seen as one of the deadliest Russian strikes in the war so far. Now, a Russian spy ship is on the edge of UK waters, creating a new era of a threat, according to Britain's Defence Secretary. During a Downing Street news conference, John Healey told reporters the vessel known as Yantar was designed for gathering intelligence and mapping undersea cables. A Royal Navy frigate and RAF planes have been deployed to monitor and track the ship's movements. A reminder of our top stories. Top tech bosses and leaders are gathering at the US-Saudi Forum on AI and investment as Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman signs major defense deals with President Trump. The Epstein files builders heading to Trump's desk after unanimous congressional approval. And a deadly Israeli airstrike hits a Palestinian refugee camp in southern Lebanon, killing at least 13. The CEO of Saudi airline Flyadeal explains why routes from Riyadh to India are essential to the carrier's expansion. And that's all from us on W News. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, follow us on X, and we'll be back in a couple of hours' time with W News Extra. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.